Hi,
Hi.
you guys. Welcome to our first ever solo Hometown Hero WWDD episode.
Second episode of the week.
Second episode of the week.
Welcome.
Happy Friday, I would say.
Yeah.
Happy Friday, you guys. Should we just get right into it?
Yeah. So happy you're joining us again this week.
Are you
Welcome
obsessed with
back.
us? No, just kidding. We're obsessed with you. All right, so should we start with some Hometown Heroes? You wanna go
Yeah.
first?
I mean, yeah, we'll just get into it, right? I mean, I don't know what else we need to talk
Let's
about.
not, we have all the time to
Let's not waste
yap.
any time.
Let's not waste any time. Welcome to Disrespectfully
with Katie Maloney.
and Dana Cathan.
Unapologetically,
We're here to do what we want to do.
spilling the tea.
Babe, you're going to see the power of women. Like,
Disrespectfully.
Why don't you go first?
okay.
Yeah.
Crystal says, hi, ladies. First of all, I love the pod. You girls are hilarious, smart, and so gorgeous. I've been a listener since the beginning, and each episode could legit be a recording of me and my girls yapping at brunch. I'm
Love.
glad that that's what we wanted it to be. Anyway, on to my story. I, 33-year-old female, am recently single working at a medium sketchy bar doing, haven't we all worked at a medium sketchy bar?
Yeah.
Doing my best to have a hot girl summer. I'm currently holding auditions for my roster, so hitting the apps and meeting men in the wild. A few days ago, a cute guy came into my bar. He's really sweet. We're having a good conversation and he's buying me some shots. Don't tell my boss. He asked me out on a date outside of work and I say yes. I don't usually date customers as a rule, but he seemed really sweet, has a good job, and we're having fun, so we exchange phone numbers. My only reservation was that he seemed a bit too nice for me, and put nicely, I'm a bit crazy. We love a self-aware queen. Boy, was I wrong in thinking that that was the only issue this man had. I figure he will finish his food and drinks and we will meet up another day. He ends up staying there throughout my entire shift, drinking the entire time, about 6 hours.
Jeez.
My shift ends and he asks if I want to go to another bar for a drink. I politely try and mention that he's already had a fair bit already, but maybe another night would be better. He insists he's okay, so I decide, hey, this could go south, but let's do it for the plot. So I take him somewhere I won't run into anyone I know in case he's embarrassing. This is admittedly the only smart decision I made that night. As we were walking, he starts going on and on about how much he likes me. And I'm thinking, dude, we barely know each other, but okay. He then comes in for a kiss. And the minute his lips hit mine, I realize, okay, there's nothing going on for me here. It was like kissing a dead fish. Not a bad kiss, just absolutely no spark. He, however, immediately gets an erection and moans as if it was the best kiss he's ever had. I laugh him off and we continue to the bar because at this point, I really need tequila. We do some shots and he continues to gush over me, calling me beautiful, telling me how into me he is. I'm soaking up the worship while laughing in his face the entire time. This does not deter him at all. He then proceeds to tell me that he's in love with me and asks me to marry him. I laugh at him and I tell him, I think that's more of a second date question. His response, no, the second date is at the wedding. At this point, I'm just racking up tequila shots on his bill and writing out last call because I'm in disbelief that this is even happening and getting a huge kick out of watching him embarrass himself like this. When the bar closes, he begs me to come home with him, which I obviously refuse and get into an Uber. He then proceeded to call me 4 times that night,
Oh my God.
all ignored. He will not stop texting me. I usually don't ghost people, but I also think I should not have to explain to him that his behavior was insane. At least I got a good laugh and a huge ego boost. Love you guys.
I mean, you are a trooper.
Okay, first of all, this reminds me, like, this kind of is going to sound like a weird comparison, but this is giving me Julia Fox energy from her book, Down the Drain. There's a whole scene in which she has like a horrible ex-boyfriend that's abusive and manipulative, and he keeps like calling her and he's like crying and whatever, and she's like talking so much to him, and it totally gives me the same energy. Like, I actually love that you stuck it out and we're literally playing in his face and he was too drunk to care or notice.
No kidding. I mean, I don't know that I could be with a stranger that I just met and him being that forward about things. I mean, I don't know if there's enough tequila in a bar to really get me through that. But like I said, you're a hero.
Well, and I also, you are a hometown hero. Also, this is a tricky situation because it's like dating someone in your building. Like, this guy knows where you work. So I'm surprised that he hasn't showed up. And like, I'm sure that's why she says she normally doesn't date people that are customers. But like, first of all, by the way, you're correct. You do not owe him anything. The fact that he did not wake up in the morning with horrible anxiety and look at his outgoing calls and be like, wow, that was a lot is crazy. But like, yeah, the fact that he's a customer. Did you ever date any customers, hook up with any customers?
No, because I was with Tom.
Mm,
But I'm trying to think like before, if there was anyone. No, just coworkers.
I know,
You know?
same, obviously.
But yeah, so it's like I'm not a stranger to like shitting where I eat. But usually it was just with people that I work with. But like everyone else was doing that, so you just kind of like you're pretty resilient. You get through it.
Related but unrelated in terms of work, living, like being careful of who you are hooking up with in your like building if you live in an
Oh,
apartment
I've done
complex.
that.
Can I tell you a quick story? When I was living in San Diego, I once was living next door to this girl, and one day this hot guy is like coming in and out of her place. And I was like, oh, I wonder if that's her boyfriend. And we ended up in the elevator together, and he was like, hey, like making small talk. He's like, oh yeah, I'm actually staying at my sister's place watching her dogs. She's out of town. And as I'm going to leave, he's like, would you want to get dinner tonight? And I was like, sure. Like, you're so hot, whatever. So we go out, we get up, obviously. I'm like 26 or something. We come back, and there's like a communal area outside of our apartment, and we're like rolling around making out on these chairs, like so messy. And then he starts being really weird, and then he's like basically insinuating that I owe it to him because he got me dinner to let him like come into my apartment. And I was like, no, thank you. So I go inside. I was like, I'm done for the night. I go inside. He knocks on my window, which is my bedroom, knocks on the window and be like, Dana, like, please, like, let's hang out. Keep it. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Psychotic behavior. So then the next day I'm terrified to leave my apartment. I'm basically in a prison sentence. Like, I can't leave. I'm so scared. I'm like peeking on my blinds again, like foil hat on. And then he's gone. I don't see him again. And the next, like a week later, I'm in the elevator with his sister. And I recognize the dog because it's a dog he had with him. And it was like, I saw her walking out of her place, and she like looks over and gives me the eyes and looks ahead. And I'm like, oh,
Does she know?
she fully knows what happens, but I'm sure he gave like a completely incorrect description of what had happened. But yeah, be really careful who you hook up with if you live in a communal building.
I mean,
Especially not their siblings.
Mine wasn't so, like, I lived in a building. This was obviously years and years and years ago, but I had a neighbor that lived on the floor below me, and he was fine. And like we would like see each other in passing, and always be like, hey, like, how are you? The whole thing. I don't know. And then I don't know if like he had like a girlfriend for a long time, but like never like kind of hit on me or anything until one day.
It's always one day.
And then it was on. It only like happened like one time, but and then
How was it?
fine. I don't really remember. I mean,
Forgettable. So we'll put it in the fine category.
no, I don't think it was like forgettable, but I don't think I was like, it's not like we like dated or anything like that. It was just like a fun sort of thing.
Love that for you.
Yeah. So I mean, sometimes it can be fun, but I think, yeah, you gotta always manage your expectations with those type of things.
Yep. Well, I hope this scary man doesn't show up at your Barbie
I
fest.
know.
This
I mean,
is so
I think
funny.
obviously, like, I mean, it doesn't seem like she was able to ghost him.
He seems like a really drunk golden retriever. Like, I don't see him, showing up and causing problems for her, but
And she's like, he will not stop texting me, but well, not showing up. So
block.
Obviously. All right, next one. Julia says, first of all, the two of you are the epitome of bad bitches link up. Hell yeah.
Love that.
Obsessed with you both. Katie since season 1 of VPR, and Dana since the moment you graced my screen in season 8. The way you advocate for yourselves and speak your minds is admirable. I look up to you both so much. You've inspired me to speak my truth for years, and I can't thank you enough for that. Anyways, I digress. On to the goods. After finding out my then husband was having an affair, and I was in the midst of a divorce / re-entering the dating scene at 30, I was on a full-on sexploration journey. The first dude I got serious with went sour after about 7 months, and I had just had it. Decided to get back on the apps and throw caution to the wind, and ended up meeting up with this guy at his apartment. Ooh, scary face. Scary face emoji, what that is. First of many mistakes. He looked kind of nerdy from his photos, but we sexted a bit, and I had convinced myself that this was just going to be a sexcapade. Something I had literally never done because I'm a clingy cancer that can't have sex without feelings involved. Doomed from the start, I suppose. So we're at his apartment, and he pulls out some contraption to smoke drugs out of. What? I'm sorry.
Hate when that happens.
I was partially hesitant at first, but was like, you know what? Fuck it. Tonight is going to be my Fiona from Shameless night. Whoa, girl. Getting fucked up and getting fucked. Dang. Jesus. He said the drug was called Get Up and or Work. Y'all, whatever it was, I smoked it. And to this day, I'm convinced I smoked crack cocaine that night. Probably. There was sexual tension, but he was making me more and more uncomfortable as the night progressed, i.e. telling me he buys and sells guns and that he had like 72 guns hidden throughout his 500 square foot apartment. What the fuck? So I was dodging anything sexual he threw my way at that point. We were up all night. I mean, like I said, I think I smoked crack.
You smoked, babe. I'm just going to, before we get into it, you smoked crack, unfortunately.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, you better work, bitch. You were smoking crack.
I even took his dog outside twice by myself and drove to a gun store with him at like 8 a.m. to avoid sex stuff. Oh my God, this is not real. When we got back from the gun store, he straight up crashed and passed out on his couch, and I snuck out and blocked his number. More idiotic than heroic, but only like 2 of my friends know the story, and it feels good getting it off my chest. R.I.P. 31-year-old me.
There's so much to unpack here. By the way, you are when we say hometown here, this is what we mean. This is so iconic. First of all, glad nothing happened to you.
Glad you're alive.
Glad you're alive. Also, I don't want you to feel shame. I've done many drugs that I thought were other drugs that ended up being other drugs in my life that ended up being a fucking bummer. So I'll probably get more into that at some point. But like, there is nothing worse. I mean, and to be fair, he wasn't like, it's weed, but I'm sure that he misled you. And then you unfortunately did crack, which is the worst.
If someone's like, why don't you do a drug called Get Up? I'm going to be like, I'm going to get out.
I'm going to get up and leave.
Yeah, I'll get up and leave. How about that? Like, that's just sound work. Anything that just sounds, that's, you know, I
came here to get laid, not
I want
work.
to do a drug that's called like, hey, this is called cozy.
Yeah,
it's called get comfortable. Like that's
this
more
is
my
called
speed.
Orgasm.
Yeah, this is called you're gonna love this.
Someone says work, I'm like, I'm gonna clock out. What are you? I'm not working.
Work.
Also, the fact that you went to the gun store with him. Now, I will.
At 8 a.m. after you've been up all night, sir. I don't think so.
Also, who the fuck drove? First of all, but all the guns that are already in the house. If there's one time that you shouldn't be going to the gun store, it's after you ingest crack. I would say that's a pretty like red flag. I'd say maybe crack free zone. But I do understand doing that to get out of hooking up with someone, because I've also done that so many times when you like will do anything that puts you out of the situation of having to be in
Was there never an option just to go home?
Well, she was on crack, babe. I bet that Julia not on crack would have left.
Yeah, but
this
like
is Julia on
you're
crack.
walking his dog, you're going to a gun store.
The dog walking is my favorite part.
I know, but like you want to not be around this man and not sleep with him. Go home. Go home and clean your apartment.
Well, maybe I've done much scarier drugs than you, but I understand that she just did not follow the linear path of the smartest thing to do.
I get it. Okay, fine. That's fair. But I'm just like, with every sentence, I was just more shook.
You know, Julia,
72 guns in a 500 square where? In the floorboards?
And you know what? I bet he didn't own it. I bet he didn't own a duvet cover. You just know he didn't.
He had one pillow on that bed.
He didn't have, yeah, it was yellow.
It was yellow.
No nightstands. 72 guns. Yeah, they're in the vents. They're in his like fucking toothpaste. Like what?
He had a 10-in-1 in his shower, and it was a
Glock and an AK.
He had the Irish Spring 5-in-1.
Yeah, it was like you held up the Irish Spring and the barrels like sticking out the side of it.
And you know there was like barely any left, and there you had to like hit it against your hand to get it out.
Look, there's no shame in my game.
He had one towel and it was always on the floor.
Constantly smelled like must. Like there's a very specific aroma.
The dog probably lays on it all day long, and then he just like tells the dog to get off of it when he gets out of the shower.
He's never cleaned behind his ears.
That asshole has never been parted.
Mm-mm.
Or his butt cheeks have never been spread.
Mm-mm. Katie says, "Hi ladies, I love the podcast and both of you. I'm listening to the episode where you were talking about revenge stories, and I have a pretty funny one. Full disclosure, this was back when Amazon only sold books, so no bugs were available to send, and this could fully get you arrested now, but luckily it was also before smartphones and security cameras everywhere. So 1,000,000 years ago, I was a freshman in college, and my best friend's boyfriend had just cheated on her. She and I have been friends since kindergarten, and I had introduced her to said boyfriend, so the betrayal for both of us, and obviously we couldn't just let that go. I'm not sure how we came up with the specific plan, but a plan hatched. At the time, I was working at a local college in a position that allowed me to see people's schedules. I looked his up and we picked a class where we knew he would have his car and definitely wouldn't skip. On said day, we turned up the early 2000s emo as loud as we could. I specifically remember screaming along to Seosin and Taking Back Sunday. And we went to the Asian market where we brought a pretty good sized fish from the seafood counter. This was a whole fish, not just a fillet, one with eyes and scales and everything. We went into stealth mode, turned off the music, and parked my little Honda Civic behind the biggest truck we could find just in case. Something to note about the boyfriend's car is that it was a piece of shit. None of the locks worked, and I'm pretty sure the only one window worked, and it was essentially a mobile dumpster with all of the crap he had in it. Knowing the doors would all be unlocked, we got to work. My friend wiped every inch of his car down with the fish while I let the air out of his tire. I just pushed the little tab. We didn't want to slash them or anything. That's so I always wonder that why people slash as opposed to just letting the air out. Like,
Duh.
I don't know.
I've never done it, but like,
yeah. And when she was done, she wiped it all over whatever articles of clothing he had in it as well. We decided to leave the fish shoved underneath the driver's seat to rot in the southeastern summer sun. They broke up temporarily. Then a couple years later, we told him what we did because we never really heard anything about it and it was killing us. As shitty a boyfriend as he was back then, he's a pretty decent guy in general. So we just started laughing and couldn't believe it was us that had done it. Okay, also, how could he not believe? Wouldn't you assume that immediately?
Mm.
He said the fish was there for a while because he couldn't figure out where the smell was coming from, and it was the most disgusting thing he'd ever seen once he found it. He also acknowledged that he deserved that shit and wasn't mad. They did eventually break up for good, but we're still chill, and he's a much better partner these days. Hope this makes it on the pod. It did.
Mm-hmm.
You did it. But even if you just read it to yourselves and laugh is good enough for me.
Iconic.
Okay,
iconic
the
shit.
fish is so smart. Just even if they didn't rub it around anything or like let the air out of the tires, like you would be looking for the smell, but I can just picture this really messy car. I feel like it would take him a long time.
Imagine him like not being able to locate it because his car is that messy. He's like, where's that smell coming from? And your car is that disgusting that you're like, it could be anything.
Yeah, you need to evaluate your life choices.
Smell revenge is such a disgusting one. I don't know if I was listening to something or if it might have been a TikTok. Someone was also talking about this. They're like, you go and you get milk, one that's about to expire. And you have to have access to this person's apartment, obviously. And what you're going to do is make sure it's hot. It's hot outside. And you're going to turn the AC off. And make sure they're going to be gone for like a good day, the whole day, so it can get nice and warm in there. What you're going to do is you're going to put it in like a fine mister, like a spray bottle. You're going to put the milk in there and you're going to spray every fabric covered thing that they own. The couch, the mattress, spray under the mattress, spray under the couch cushion, spray the carpet, spray the rug, spray everything with the milk. And they're not going to know why. Spray their in the closet, spray their clothes. How fucking terrible would that be if someone did that to you?
I mean, it's like, just like with glitter
I don't
bombs
even want to give
really
people ideas.
I know we're not
advocating for this
at all.
We're just saying. When I heard that,
so
I was like,
up.
"That is evil.
Oh,
That
it's
is
so evil."
Because milk. Have you ever gone to in a car where someone's like has milk is spilled in like a trunk or something like that?
Of course, I have.
You cannot get that smell out, and it smells rot. And especially in the summertime, it's like it is accentuated. And yeah, when I heard that, I was like, "Oh my god," because it's just gonna be. They're not going to be able to get rid of it.
It's the exact same smell of like when babies throw up. It's literally so awful.
Foul.
It's so foul. I remember one time Lenny threw up in herself and we took her to a brewery and forgot a change of clothes. She was like 2. We had to get a small t-shirt that ended up being a dress on her because the smell was so rancid. I almost threw up on her. Like I picked her up and I was like, oh, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's so mean. Another one that I heard, this was not on TikTok. This was years ago. This woman, I think it was my mom's friend, and this is the kind of company she kept, so that makes sense for me. They were all degenerates, but she was like getting a divorce, and I think the husband who had an affair had kept the house, so she was moving out, and it was her last night in the house, and she was pissed, and she ate like a tray of shrimp, like shrimp cocktail, and took the tails with like the gunk in it, and opened the curtain rod rings.
Oh.
So because it's old, because I don't even know if that's like a thing anymore in houses they have that, but it was curtain rod rings. and shoved them in the curtain rod rings.
Oh,
And they could never figure out what the smell was. And I'm
my
pretty sure they ended up selling the house eventually.
God.
Anyway, we're not trying to give you guys ideas, but this is just...
But if you need them.
But if you
kidding.
need them, we're here for you.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's iconic shit. Maybe the person who sprayed painted the building should have just done something like that.
Right.
And not made a poor
Again, it looks like a man's...
maintenance people. They're just so
That looks
stressed
like poor
out.
planning that a man would do, but...
Patty says, "Hey girls, thanks for bringing me some girl time every week. Love you both. I'm a 36-year-old from a small town. Almost 2 years ago, I moved to a big city about 4 hours from my hometown. I had recently gotten out of a 12-year relationship, was up for a professional change, and just ready to prove to myself that I could make it on my own. So a move seemed ideal. Only a few friends have come up to visit since the move, and honestly, that's been pretty disappointing considering it's an easy weekend trip and I make it back when I can. I've put myself out there to make new girlfriends in the city, not so much to date, but maybe I should. And I've been trying to work towards making those genuine connections, but it's just hard to make new friends in your mid-30s. I'm enjoying the city life and my new job, but I miss home and my old friends. My lease renewal is coming up and I need to decide if I want to keep exploring this new city or go back home. I'm struggling with the lack of friendships here, but also question the strength of my friendships back home. Do I stick it out and keep pushing myself or go back to what feels comfortable? Help a girl out. What would you both do? XO.
I have a lot of opinions on this.
I understand that it can be definitely hard to like make friends in your mid, 30s, all that, blah, blah, blah. It can be a deterrent to like want to like move to a new city. But also I think, you just got out of a long relationship and you want to like challenge yourself and you want something new. And I think it's easy to want to go back to what's comfortable and what you know. And that seems like the best, most simple idea. But I think you have to do, what's going to make you uncomfortable. And being uncomfortable for a little while, I say like stick it out. Honestly, I say stick it out because you can turn that corner and all of a sudden end up with like an amazing group of friends and be like, I'm so glad I didn't go back to that city, that hometown, what's comfortable, that's like that, safety net of people and what I know, because you never know what could be waiting for you. It takes time. It honestly takes time. And I think you just have to like continue to put yourself out there.
Completely agree. I think that, first of all, you're 36. Your hometown will be there when you're done. So I say stick it out, first of all. What's a year of your life? I relate to this because when I moved to California first, I moved to San Diego. Hated it. No offense to San Diego, it just wasn't my vibe. Lived there for a year and a half and I came very close to moving back to Seattle. And I decided on a whim to move to LA and it ended up being the perfect place for me. I'm so glad I did not move back to Seattle. I can't imagine what my life would be right now. So I'm not saying move to another city, but what I am saying is it took me almost 2 years to even feel comfortable in California. And that's when stuff started getting good. And your friends who are not being great friends are still going to not be great friends, in my opinion, when you get home. I'm sure your relationships have changed. And I think that you're onto something there. If you're hoping that you get back and then nothing has changed, like you have been away for an amount of time. So things probably have changed.
Yeah.
And I think what you should do is say, I am 36, which is the new 26. I'm going to renew my lease and I am going to spend the next year being very intentional because first of all, it is very hard to make friends in your 30s, but you also have to start putting yourself out there more. Like, are you going to every local event that you could? Are you, sitting at a coffee shop without headphones in for an hour? Are you like, there are different things you can do. Or if you meet someone at work that you like, maybe hang out with them. Or if you meet someone and you like their friend group, like maybe see if they're doing more stuff. Like, it's hard, but it is worth it. And there are ways to do it. So this comes from, personal experience. I think that you should absolutely do what makes you feel uncomfortable because I know everyone hates when I repeat this, but we're on a rock floating through space. We're all going to die soon. Nothing is that deep.
No, 100%.
Stay there.
Yeah, agreed.
And if you don't listen to us, we're fighting. No, I'm just kidding. Do what you want, but that's what we think.
But yeah, I think that it would be very easy just to go back, but it's not going to make you happy. It's not the solution, I don't think.
Oh, Also, yeah, the Slulu is
maybe
Beedalulu.
like instead of staying in the same apartment, is there like a different part of the city? Maybe you're just not vibing in that particular part of the city. Because like I know that like I've kind of like moved around different parts of LA and was exposed to like different, you know, people and different places to go. And so maybe that's something to consider, is that maybe you just like pick a new part of town.
Also, if you're feeling this way on the inside, one last thing to note about it. I've now lived in 3 major cities as an adult, and your problems follow you geographically. I'm telling you that. So if you're feeling this way, but the appeal of going back to the small town is that you have a friend group, it's not enough of a reason. Sit in the uncomfortability, because that's where the growth happens. And like Katie said, I think you're going to be surprised what's just around the corner for you.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be like, thank Godney. I didn't go back.
Yeah.
Anonymous says, big fan. You girls are the best pod and you know it. Yada, yada. I always look forward to WWDD. I know, Dana, you worked in a male-dominated field all of your life, and Katie, you worked at restaurants since you were a teen. So here's my situation. I have a manager at my job who has expressed interest in me. He knows I have a long-term boyfriend that I live with, but won't stop with the relentless hitting me up. At first, I laughed it off. Maybe my fault. I work at a bar, so I'm used to harmless flirting or joking that happens with coworkers, friends, customers. But this time I felt very uncomfortable in a situation, and never with someone who is technically my boss, someone that holds power. And I'm starting to get texts from him once a week saying, hey there. Obviously I don't respond, but it's bordering on making me want to quit. I've had to have my boyfriend pick me up twice from work, which is an hour travel each way. I said all that to ask, as fellow restaurant and service industry girlies, how do you proceed? I don't want to quit, but I also don't want to feel like I have to allow someone with power to put pressure on me to be nice when the advances are inappropriate. Okay, so that really chapped my ass reading. Just as being a woman in, honestly, any industry, we deal with it. But as you were speaking to, that's a lot of what I dealt with, Allison, before we started the show today.
Yep.
We were talking about male-dominated industries and being made to feel like you just had to take it. I want to point something out to you. Number one, this is a post-Me Too world. You do not have to take this. Number two, you have not done anything wrong. Do not allow this person to make you feel that way. Even if you leaned into it initially, but then you pulled back and you know it's crossing a line and making you uncomfortable. My suggestion to you is, I don't think you should just quit, and look, every restaurant's different. It's different at more of like a mom and pop restaurant than something that's a little more corporate.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the scenario, I guarantee you that your boss has a boss. I guarantee you know an owner, or you have another coworker that you trust that can help you with this situation. You need to report this person in a formal way. That means a write-up. You want it in writing, because guess what? I don't care what the situation is. You could literally sue him for this. Just FYI. It doesn't matter if he gets fired or the owner sides with you or anything. You can literally sue this person. So you want a documentation of all of it. I understand that that is a big hassle and takes resources, but I'm just saying, before you just quit, I very much advise you to try to run it up the flagpole and get support. And then also, if you try to do that and no one supports you, you can come back and sue the whole restaurant, which is great.
Yeah.
People cannot allow you to be treated this way. It's literally illegal. So
yeah, no,
how do you
I
feel
mean,
about it, Katie?
I agree with everything that you're saying. It is a frustrating thing, because you're just like, I just want this person to stop, because I don't want to have to like go to, whether it's HR or go to the general manager or owner, because then they're going to talk to them, and then that person's going to, make my life hell. And, maybe they're the person that does the scheduling, or if you're on the schedule and they're the manager that night of your shift, then it's fucking awkward. You're like, you want to be able to avoid all of that and have that
Totally.
person just like knock it off. So, I mean, I don't know what the advice is that way to get them to stop. If you're able just to be like, listen, I don't know if you've noticed, but I have a boyfriend, and like, I would want to keep things fucking cool. So if you could just like, please stop. Like, I'm not like interested. You were friends, we're coworkers, when we're cool, but like, I'm just not into it like that. Like, there's like, I'm not saying like be nice, be like assertive, like stand up for your fucking self and see if they stop. Cause yeah, they shouldn't be doing this shit. But like, I think if your goal is to ultimately like keep your job and not have it turn into like this like whole thing, that could be step one. Step two is going to an owner, taking that. So yeah, because you can sue, but I mean, I don't think suing should be your first.
No.
thing.
I think I skipped step one, and that is because I am incensed, and it's just so amazing to me that in 2024 people are still doing this. You should be able to go to work and feel safe and not have someone making unwanted advances. And I know you agree with that.
Yeah,
So
because I can guarantee what's going to happen is he's not the one that's going to be fired. It's going to be awkward and ultimately end up and I hate the way that it of course, but I think if you try to just be like, this makes me feel a little uncomfortable because, we work together and I have a boyfriend and whatever, like
she would know him better than us. So yeah, if you think he's the kind of person that would be receptive to that, but and maybe try it either way. But
if not, ultimately you're going to be the one that's quitting your job. I'm just letting you know.
I don't know. I think that you fight that and it could end up being that, but I'm just saying, like, if I'm you, even if you quit, don't, especially if, like you said,
you
if there
can't
is an
sue
HR or
and
something.
still work there.
No.
Either way. So I mean,
Yeah.
like, you're going to be quitting your job if he can't get the picture.
Right. But I'm saying I personally would not go out quietly and just do your due diligence in trying to get that rectified. And who knows, maybe the owner or whoever is a normal person and would fire that creep. But
for sure. Yeah. But yeah, that would be ideal. But
so
anyway.
you have to keep chipping away at it.
Yep. Emily says, hi, Katie and Dana, day one listener and big fan of the pod. Thanks for your candidness and kindness. Love to bring you into my world every week. My question is about spirituality. I've been in therapy for close to a decade, previously focused on processing some relationship trauma and then on postpartum struggles following the birth of my now 2-year-old. My current therapy is focused more on getting to the core of me, my communication patterns, and working to be the best version of myself. My therapist suggested I reflect on my spirituality. She empathized this does not need to be religious, but should focus on my core beliefs. She further suggested I think about what I believe happens when we die. I was raised Catholic, but don't practice religion at all anymore. I'm feeling lost in this this exploration of spirituality and would love to know your thoughts or perspectives from your own experiences. Thanks for weighing in.
Not to be a bitch, but like,
get a new therapist.
Your therapist is the problem. No, here's the thing. I think if any therapist, I came to them because I've been in therapy for 10 years. I went to them and was like unloading all of my trauma. And they're like, why don't you think about what happens when we die? Am I crazy? I don't feel like that's particularly helpful.
I mean, so I'm like, why are you suggesting that? Of the things I've been talking about, relationship trauma and like postpartum stuff, like why are you suggesting I focus on like after death stuff? Like, I would want to know why. Is there something she thinks that I'm that's speaking through that?
Well, I'm wondering if this therapist is trying to integrate more of like,
is she trying to
Eastern and
indoctrinate
Western. So yeah. If she comes to you with like a robe of any kind and some like matching shoes, just say no. She's no.
Like, I'd love to talk to you about our Lord and Jesus.
She's like, why don't you sit down and have some colloidal silver with me?
So I'm gone.
Anyway,
Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
I think. Listen, I say consider it all and explore it all. But if something just doesn't resonate with you in this type of like practice, don't do it.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything wrong with exploring different things, especially if you feel like maybe you're reaching for something else you haven't found yet. I personally am extremely spiritual, but I am not religious. I don't follow any organized religion of any kind, but that doesn't mean I don't believe in life after death and what that looks like. And I just think if it's something that you want to look into, definitely do. But I just think it's, I guess, and I hope we're not being too judgmental of this therapist, but it's like interesting to me that she was like, why don't you think about what happens when we die?
Yeah.
Why would I want to do that?
I think it's super important to reflect on those things and like obviously your core beliefs and things like that. But I feel like it's reading that there's something else happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like in Barbie when she's like, do you guys ever think about dying?
It's like reflect on like what do you really believe in and what do you think happens when you die? It's like I don't know. It feels like there's just like there's some like undertones in that.
Yeah, I wonder if it also has anything to do with, she says, I was raised Catholic and don't practice religion anymore. So I wonder if your therapist like picked up on that and thinks that because you're not practicing this one organized religion, you feel like something is missing. But
no, I know, because it's just like, while I think we both are big proponents for therapy and think it's an amazing tool to have in your life, and we also are big into the spirituality of things. I don't know, when like religion and things like that are brought into it, they're like, there's like no I don't know.
I, in my life, am a big believer in Western and Eastern solutions. So it's
Yeah.
like very grateful for modern medicine, but I also believe in some homeopathic things. I think that it can be multiple things can be true at once. And so incorporating, especially if you're in a moment of your life that you feel lost or more untethered, it does make sense to me to explore all things.
Yeah,
and like,
reflect
check
on
out.
it and see what speaks to you. Why not? But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it makes you feel strange or uncomfortable, maybe reflect on that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jamie says, "Hi, Katie and Dana. I've been watching to the pod since it began. Congratulations. It really is such a breath of fresh air and inspiring. I'm writing to you for advice. I have been in recovery for a severe eating disorder, which I lived with for 32 years. It almost took my life 3 times and has caused me to lose my dream career. I've been in recovery for about 2 years and have had such a difficult road, which is made even worse by the new Ozempic trend and the health and wellness, clean eating, toxic fasting, exercising trend.
Mm.
I am in awe of how you speak about your bodies, the respect you show yourselves, and the acceptance of your limits and boundaries. You refuse to give in to toxic trends. How do you manage to move through life and maintain such a healthy viewpoint of yourself, laugh at the ridiculousness, and ignore the media's ideals regarding fitness, weight, and accept yourselves as you are? Beautiful, strong, and amazing women. Thank you."
Wow.
Well, first of all, Jamie, I'm so proud of you. Congratulations on 2 years of recovery, especially
Mhm.
after an entire life of dealing with that. That's so difficult to get through. So you're amazing. I mean, it's interesting because on our Wednesday episode, we were talking about how that is my new thing, that on TikTok, when we're seeing all this clearly unhealthy, disordered eating shit, I block it because I can't handle it. But first of all, you said really nice things about us and I appreciate that. But I think that you're giving, I'm not going to speak for Katie, but me more grace than you think. Like, I do struggle with these things, and
Yeah.
it's not to say that it doesn't happen, but I think that it's important to try to come back to center, which is what I'm always doing in all ways in life. And like, I'm a woman that lives in 2024. It's very easy if you're ingesting things that make you not feel good about yourself, whether it's content, conversation with friends, anything that's around you that could lead you to having a completely skewed viewpoint or, body dysmorphia or whatever. There are so many ways that we can access that these days. I think the best thing I do, and I'm just not always perfect about it, is trying to cut it out of my life. Like, because I'm sensitive to those things and I can get down on myself and I can get weird about body image, I just know myself well enough to know by this point that do your best to remove things that are toxic and also add in more things that are healthy and reflect more of what you want to be.
Yeah. No,
Personally, that's what I do.
No, I completely agree with what you're saying. And like, yeah, I don't think I'm just completely like ignore all of the, societal sort of pressures and ideals of like those types of things. Definitely still struggle with them for sure. But yeah, I'm the same way. I have to really monitor my visual diet, especially on like social media, with removing certain things, whether it is like those people that talk about diet culture and exercise and fitness and those types of things, or just like certain things where like if I get triggered by just anything the way it looks, and it's not to be like overly sensitive, but it's just like if something makes me feel like that, I have to block it and keep it out of my algorithm and out of my visual landscape, if you will. But then, and then also just like whatever's like more positive things to inject in my life, affirmations, just going for a walk, going like anything that's just like a healthy sort of, it puts me in a healthy state of mind, I think, and trying to stay there as long as possible.
In this day and age, we have, when we get up in the morning, a million ways to hate ourselves at our fingertips.
Yep.
It is that easy. So like keeping that in mind, especially if you are in recovery from something and you know yourself, like, first of all, know you're not alone. I really appreciate the things you said about us. And I think some of that's true, but we definitely both struggle with it too. It's just about knowing yourself.
The toxic trends and everything, it's so tempting. It's so tempting because it's like, it would, it's, I don't say it's easy, but you're just like, I could just. So it's like, it's being like really proactive and making choices every day to be like, I don't want to fall into that trap, because it is a trap. Being like, I don't want to do that. I want to know, because it's not healthy for you. It's not good for you. It's a spiraling sort of habit. So it's just like being really in control of yourself.
Yeah.
Yep. Amo says, My 34 straight cis female BFF, 37 straight cis male. Okay, so she's 34 cis female BFF, 37 straight cis male, have never crossed boundaries and have remained happily platonic for years. He has a girlfriend now who is nice and lovely and makes him happy, but I'm being displaced, forgot about / no longer a priority. I have heard the perspective of a woman with her boyfriend's female's BFF, but we are just prioritizing romantic relationships and platonic relationships are supposed to deal. I get it's him making whatever choices, but I'm supposed to just immediately decenter him from my life and be cool. If he were a woman and was bailing on me for her boyfriend, it would be shitty, no? Bro, I'm sad and I miss my friend. I mean, whenever like someone starts dating someone, you know, they prioritize that person. That's just how it is, you know, like that person becomes a priority to them. And I mean, that person obviously, you know, is another woman in their life. And that woman is naturally going to feel a little threatened when their best friend is a woman, you know? And I think it maybe just going to take some time for her to get comfortable with the situation. And you're going to have to take a backseat a little bit, I think. Just give it some time. But, you know, also like let him live, I think, too, honestly.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. If it was a woman, that it would be looked up as fucked up. But the thing is, that's apples and oranges. That's not an apples to apples comparison. But he isn't. He's a guy, and it sounds like you both are straight. And so when there is a straight man and a straight woman, there's always the potential for that. Like it just kind of is what it is. And I also, honestly, for the girlfriend, I understand why she would feel that way, and like that would be difficult to deal with. And I just think that, like Katie said, no matter what the situation is, when someone starts dating someone, they are going to change their priorities a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So also, like, maybe evaluate this in 6 months. If you feel like you have not seen him at all and that it's just completely changed, that may be something that he's fine with. But it's totally okay to talk to him and be like, look, I understand. And I don't. Also, please do not make the girlfriend the problem, because it's not going to go over well.
Mm-mm.
Come from it from a perspective of like, hey, we've been friends for years. I love you. I respect your relationship. I want it to thrive. I don't want to make this person uncomfortable, but I just want you to know I feel like I've really lost our closeness. And even though it might not be the same, I would appreciate it if you would prioritize me a little more.
Yeah, exactly.
Please do not attack that girl, though. It's
yeah,
just not
no, I mean,
gonna
yeah, because I
work.
mean, when things are new, especially like it's exciting, it's new, it's a honeymoon phase, it happens. So like, just like kind of give it some time,
Let it
and
run
then
its
see.
course.
Yeah, and you never know. Who knows? Maybe they could break up. I don't know, but like, just give it some time. Let that person know you support it. You're there for them. You want to hang out, and then let them come to you. Unfortunately, that's what's gonna happen.
Agreed.
I mean, yeah, but it sucks whenever like your friends do start dating a new guy, because then yeah, they do start spending more time away, and you can call it shitty all you want, but the thing is, let's say you got a boyfriend tomorrow, what are you gonna do? Not hang out with the person and hang out with your guy best friend all the time? Probably not. Probably not. Let's face it.
Yeah,
because you're gonna be super excited and super in love and want to spend all your time with this new person.
Also, I'm not making assumptions. I am just asking you to evaluate. You guys have remained platonic friends for years. It's never been a thing. Please look inward and just make sure that on no level is this you wanting it to have gone somewhere else. It's totally possible. It's very platonic, but we sometimes lie to ourselves. And I'm wondering if at all subconsciously you were.
Yeah, maybe subconsciously.
Just take a look.
Are
I'm not
you a
judging
little jealous that he has a girlfriend and it's not you?
Are you listening to that Taylor Swift song? She wears short skirts, I wear t-shirts. If you're listening to that a lot, you might tell
I mean,
you.
yeah, no, because I mean, like, there's like definitely some. I've had like platonic male friends that I'm like, I would never fucking date you. You know what I mean? And it's fine. Like, no, truly. Like,
Same.
I know people are like, men and women can never be friends. I'm like, that's not fucking true. Like, if people say you're the problem if you say that, but yeah, no, there's other people that it's like, yeah, you're not aware that maybe you do have a thing for them until like you see them with someone else, you know what I mean? And then you're like, oh fuck, okay, well that's an interesting thing I didn't know I had in me, but yeah, so evaluate it.
Lily says, I'm 22. I'm in a happy relationship. Women loving women. It's new, but we had the kind of connection where you just instantly click and then are together all the time after that. I normally have a hard time connecting with people, and I'm not super romantic person unless I'm in a relationship. So we have this strong connection where I'm able to let my guard down, but I still don't feel completely comfortable during sex. I was in a bad relationship before this one, took a long break before dating again. In my last relationship, we didn't have sex for the last 6 months of our relationship. I tried to initiate and was turned down every single time. Naturally, this made me really self-conscious and insecure. When I brought these things up to my ex, I was told, I can't help you with that. Oof. Going through that obviously put a huge damper on my sex life and how I view myself. I always feel so disconnected during sex and I don't feel sexy, which makes it hard to communicate what I want and it takes me forever to finish. It's hard for me to get into the mindset that what I'm doing is normal and that I deserve to feel pleasure. These are all new issues for me, which is why I'm having such a hard time. Usually after 30 minutes, I get out my vibrator. Same. Get out my vibrator because I usually get in my head even more. I'm incredibly attracted to my partner and I have no issue giving pleasure. I just have a hard time receiving it. Any advice for how to get my groove back after a shitty relationship and having new insecurities? Or advice on getting the confidence to communicate what I want? It may be important to add that I'm ex-Mormon lesbian who was raised with a lot of shame around sex. That is important to add. Thank you for letting us know. I was in therapy for over a year to work through this before my last relationship, and now I feel like I'm back at square one due to when I was constantly being turned down. I want a sex life to be better in this relationship. I want to enjoy myself, and I want to come. Help me, ladies, please. Well, so many things. First of all, who has not had a bad partner that has made themselves feel bad about themselves sexually? Like in sexual scenarios, I have
everyone.
absolutely experienced that before, and it is totally traumatic. I think you're working against a few things, one of which being if you do come from a really religious background, it's not all scenarios, but a lot of them aren't accepting of that. So like you said, you're living a lot of shame around sex just from that.
Yeah.
And then this other person, also the way that partner sucked for them to just say, I can't help you with that. So then now you have it in your mind that this isn't something you can go to your partner with, in addition to feeling like you're shameful in general. I would say the first thing, and you didn't say you haven't done this, but instead of just communicating what you want before you are in a sexual scenario with your partner, you need to tell them like, hey, I'm sure you've talked about your old shitty ex, but just be like, this is really affecting me sexually. I get so in my head. I'm so into you. I love making you feel good, but I feel like I have a block that is not allowing me to do the same. And so I want to work through that emotionally. And I know it's something that ultimately I'm going to have to do. But in the meantime, I know that you are a support to me. So, I want to work through this. And then, I want to be able to have that open line of communication. So when we are in the moment, it's easier to talk about what I want and like what is good for me and what not.
Yeah. I mean, being rejected over and over and over again is going to absolutely chip away at your confidence and at your like worth. You can't help that, honestly. And I think being with somebody who can offer you, I think just like, I don't know if you've expressed that to them. I'm sure you have, but gentle reminders and not making it their problem and not saying that it's their fault or making like them, the bad guy in the situation. But, I think a healthy relationship can help you heal from those kind of traumatic relationships. And someone should be supportive in that journey along with you to say like, this is obviously a big part of a relationship and connecting and being intimate together. And I have these blocks because of what someone did to me. And, when you say certain things to me or like whatever, it's going to be triggering for my past. So like, I don't know. I think that's like a big thing. It's just like being as specific as possible of ways that you can be supported and, not be triggered from the previous crap that you received.
Totally. And we hope you come too.
Yeah.
That's all we've ever wanted for any of you.
Yeah,
so.
Correct. Bella says, I need your advice or maybe at least some thoughts on what I'm currently going through. I love your podcast and absolutely value your opinions. I, 28 female, have been dating my boyfriend, David, 27 male, for a little over 8 months. It's been great because we started out as coworkers/friends. So before we dove into a relationship, we really had to make sure this is what we wanted with each other before we continued. We've met each other's families, friends, and absolutely believe David is my person. I believe he feels the same about me. Like I said, the relationship has been great. However, women's intuition can be a monster. I did something I know I shouldn't have. For whatever reason, this week, I had a pit in my stomach and true gut feeling that something was up. And I read one of his recent journal entries. A huge violation of privacy. I'm absolutely aware you can yell at me, hate me, or tell him to never forgive me. I know what I did was wrong, and maybe there's no coming back from that. I feel awful and was racking my brain around for hours debating on if I should do it. Curiosity got the best of me, and I truly wish it never did. On Monday night, David found out that his girl best friend, Nina, 26, 27 female, got engaged. To give you some context, they've been best friends for maybe 8 to 9 years at this point, and she's great. She lives in his hometown, so I haven't met her yet, but we've chatted through social media quite a few times. Her and her now fiance have been together for roughly 4 years at this point too. I've never been one to be jealous or insecure about a girl best friend. He's also never given me a reason to. I remember at the beginning of our relationship, I had to ask about his history with her, just as he did when I talked about my guy best friends. I love my guy best friends, but never romantically or thought about them sexually. He said the same thing about Nina. He said they never hooked up, never dated, no romantic feelings were ever involved, and we left it at that. I trusted him. She never gave me a reason not to trust her, so we never had a need to revisit this conversation. Now back to the journal. He wrote Tuesday morning, less than 12 hours after he found out about Nina's engagement, that him and I are not endgame because he can't get past certain things. He didn't elaborate. That, of course, had my heart sink into my stomach. I felt compelled to read a bit more, and he wrote again later that night about Nina's engagement. He felt the need to also include, I'm happy for her. Ugh, I guess there goes my shot. It seems like we won't ever be together in this lifetime. I will always have love for her. Hell of a lot of love. I wonder if she ever thinks about what if with me. I immediately slammed the journal shut. I was speechless and frozen. He wrote a bit more, but I couldn't continue reading. I truly never believed that I had anything to worry about between them. I'm not sure if he ever confessed his feelings early on and was friend-zoned, or maybe he never told her how he felt, or maybe they did try things and it just didn't work out. Knowing this has made my head spin. I don't know what to do with this information. Should I bring this up? If I do, how? Do I tell him about reading his journal, or do I just revisit the conversation about his feelings for her? Side note, if him and I stay together, we'd be going to her wedding together. Am I living in a rom-com where he confesses his love to her at the wedding and they drive off into the sunset together? Thanks again, and sending you and the podcast all the love.
It's so funny that we just went over that other one, which is basically from the girl best friend's perspective. But
yeah.
Do you want to go first or should I?
If you go looking, you're going to find something. And especially like in a journal where somebody is just like letting thoughts spill out of their head, saying the things they could probably never say out loud and probably never should say out loud. Because maybe, I don't know, maybe it's how they feel, maybe it's how they don't, maybe it's like subconscious ramblings that they just need to kind of exercise out of their mind. I don't know, but all I know is that if you go looking through a phone, if you go looking through anything, no matter what it is, no matter how scandalous it is or whatever, you are going to scandalize it. And it is going to hurt you, and it's going to cause problems, and most likely problems that you are never going to be able to come back from, because no matter what the story is, you're going to write it, and you're going to write in the little bits that don't get filled in for you, and it's gonna tear you to pieces no matter what. I don't know what the best solution is. I mean, I don't think you're going to be able to just pretend that you didn't see this or read this or know this. So I don't know if the best course of action is to just be straight up honest with him that you read it. Probably. But yeah, I don't really know that there's a good way out of this, to be honest.
The problem with that is he's going to gaslight you. The second you say, I went through your journal, okay? You're automatically in the wrong. It's invasion of privacy. First of all, please stop beating yourself up. Everyone has snooped in their life. My God. And guess what? Every time I've snooped, God, my feelings hurt. So, but I'm not saying it's right, but that's whatever. Okay.
It happened.
Guess what? I guarantee you he did try to get with her before and she friend zoned him. So ultimately you're looking at this as someone you want to marry, and he point blank said him and I are not endgame because he can't get past certain things, and then said, ugh, there goes my shot. Like, what are you, a consolation prize? So my advice to you, take it or leave it, dump him immediately. I would never, do not go further down this road, because also guess what? In 10 years, if he doesn't confess his love at the wedding, is he going to do it after you guys have kids and he still loves her? You don't know. But what I'm saying is, Nina aside, he point blank said, you are not endgame, in the most intimate setting he could have possibly said it. He had no reason to lie to his journal. So like,
yeah.
And if I'm you, I don't think you're going to be able to do this because it's going to be so hard. I would just break up with him and say, I think that we both know this isn't endgame. and then
That
just
would be
and
amazing.
do not admit you read the journal. You're not going to say anything about the journal. Please, God, don't mention the journal. Have the upper hand, walk the fuck out and say, I think we both know this isn't going to be endgame and it would be silly to continue down this path. So I'd rather end it here while, we're on good
Please
terms.
do that.
And I wish you
Please.
all the best.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, unless you're not going to be able to move past this. He's never going to be like fully honest, I think, about the past and what happened. And he's going to be more pissed at you for going, through.
I am begging you not to mention
shit.
the journal in any circumstance.
Yeah,
He is going to gaslight
So that's
you.
what I mean. So don't mention any of it.
But use that word. That's
Yeah.
all I have to say
Oh
about
my God.
that. And then let him say, and then you know what you do? When he starts yelling at you and accusing you of the journal, gaslight him. Say, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I've been thinking
What
this
journal?
for a long
I don't
time.
even. I didn't even know you had a journal.
What is a journal?
Just like, well, write about this.
A journal? It's 2024. You loser. You don't use the notes app?
But yeah, no, I think don't mention that. But the thing is, and you're just not going to be able to get past that. So
I'm really sorry you're going through
Yeah,
that. God,
no.
it hurt. It sucks when you snoop and you hurt your own feelings. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
I mean, I'm not going to say that 8 months isn't significant, but you know what? Before you're 8 years into this thing, get out.
Also, babe, you are 28. That is the
Ugh.
new 18.
Yeah, you
You have so much more to go. My God, please. Trust me, break up with him, live your best life in
and he's
4 years.
27. He don't know what the fuck he wants.
You're going to
anyway.
look
Like,
back. And if he's 27 and already saying you're not endgame, and by the way, I'm in love with my best friend, what more do you need?
Yeah.
No, break up with him, go live your best life in 4 years. You're going to be like, what
Oh my
a
God,
fucking loser.
You're going to be so thankful.
Lehu,
Take
zehu.
it from me. Mhm.
How are you feeling after our second episode?
Oh, I love it. I feel great. I'm very excited about the future of the second episode.
I love it. I hope you guys loved it too.
Yeah, I hope y'all loved it. More importantly.
It really is nice to be able to take our time. And also, like I said, we just want to get through more of them. So
I know. So
please write
keep them
in.
coming.
disrespectfullypod@gmail.com. Send in your hometown heroes and your WWDDs.
Hell yeah, brother.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.
Babe, you're going to see the power of women. Like,
Disrespectfully.